Awesome atmosphere, but kind of put it perfectly. He does have a point.
And in my opinion, I've got Kobe Bryant right there under Jordan, or right there with him, right, right below him, above LeBron, above all the other guys. But I'm not getting into that. But I remember watching Dale Earnhardt race. I believe it was the Daytona 500. 2001. It was in February. I had just celebrated a birthday not too far before that. I was hanging out with my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, and we just had that on in the background. I think we had like the race on, the 500 on, but we also had music playing. We were also just doing a bunch of other stuff. So like I said, I'm not like a super just like dialed in fan. We were doing other things, and I do that with other sports as well. But Kyle Busch is one of those names that even if you're not a NASCAR fan, you may not be a boxing fan, but you know the name Floyd Mayweather. You know the name Mike Tyson. You see where I'm going? That's kind of what Kyle Busch was to the NASCAR world. You don't have to watch NASCAR. You don't have to be a big fan. But Kyle Busch, even in, it took me a second when I heard the name. I was like, it couldn't be Kyle Busch, the racer. And then I saw it on the news, and it was Kyle Busch, and it was, you tend to go down these rabbit holes of people's lives after they pass, and you start digging more into them, and you start ending up learning more about them after they passed than you ever did when they were living. And that may be the case here with Kyle Busch. Like I may just start looking deeper into his life. I like to know what people's faith was, what are their standards, you start to learn about people after they pass, and that's I hate the old Biggie Small saying. I don't know if he was the first to say it, but you're nobody until somebody kills you. That's absolutely not true in the case of Kyle Busch because he was absolutely someone and no one killed him, right? He died. And so what they're saying from the health standpoint is that we know that a couple of weeks ago he was in a race. I don't know if it was North Carolina. I don't remember where it was, but I think it was somewhere around there. But either way, during a race, he calls for a doctor to come give him a shot. The doctor comes and gives him a shot. And I don't know if this is related to the sinus thing that he had going on, but I know that he had a sinus situation going on. And when you're racing, there's multiple altitudes, right? You're going to these different places, different topographies, different climates. You're going with multiple altitudes. And if it's an infection, those things can spread. I don't want to speculate. I don't know exactly what it is, but again, the sinus thing came up. And then also, so that happened. And then so a few days ago, he goes in the hospital, and we've learned recently that he was um, warm. He was coughing up blood. And then his family reached out in the morning of uh, the 21st to say he would not be participating in the events of the Coca-Cola 600. But then we would find out a few short hours later that he just wouldn't survive this ordeal. And I don't know what he had. I don't know what it was, but he's a real legend. So for all you real NASCAR fans out there, all you people that were real true Kyle Busch fans out there, thoughts, prayers, condolences to you, um, because he was a, a legend. He was a legend in the sport, and he had some, when he wasn't racing, some of his on-camera stuff. I don't want to say he was controversial, but he was charismatic for sure, right? For better or worse. And so I always liked him in interviews. Again, when you're not a big NASCAR fan or you're not a big anything fan, if you're not a big sports fan or not a big fan of boxing, you might still know about, Tyson Fury or Floyd Mayweather or Mike Tyson. You might find yourself enjoying their interviews as much as some people enjoy their fights. That was sort of what it was with Kyle Busch with me. He was a person, he was one of those people that I liked.
Awesome atmosphere, but kind of put it perfectly. He does have a point.